Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in. We are good to go. And again, don't spiral. A little bit more adjustment of the office. You probably won't even notice it. Not a big deal. But it's all good, and there will be more after Christmas. I guarantee you that. So, we have audio. What does audio mean? Does that mean we have audio problems? Just saying audio doesn't help. I'm gonna have to get. I think I'm gonna have to get rid of this second delay because it now that we have audio's good, so excellent. I think we're gonna have to get rid of this second delay because now that we're not having problems with Comicsgate folks or anything, there's really no need for it anymore. So anyhow, a couple things. And then we'll get into what I want to talk about. But I've decided to make it very, very clear about my position on the recent drama and that sort of thing. And it doesn't seem to matter what I say. No matter how much I explain that I am not interested in the drama, that I don't care what other people are doing, that it's not relevant to me, etc., etc. That doesn't seem to be convincing to various people. And so I'm going to make it very simple for everybody. If you bring up Nick Fuentes at all, I will simply ban you from the channel. We're not going to have this conversation. I've already spoken my piece. I've already made my position very clear. And since my words are not sufficient to convince these people, then we're going to convince via our actions. If you happen to be a channel member, then you're going to get put into a timeout the first time. And if you insist on doing it, then you're going to be muted on the channel too. So, there's just no way that I'm going to waste any time on this. And so I hope that the moderators are clear on this. I don't care if anyone's trying to be clever and tricky. I don't care if they're trying to be work it in somehow and that sort of stuff. Just nuke them immediately. It's not relevant to what we're doing. It's not relevant to what I'm interested in. It's not relevant, period. And so, other folks can do what they want. Will you reiterate this for people who possibly weren't here the first time you said it? Sure, there's about 200 more people. If you make any reference whatsoever, joking, sarcastic, ironic, to Nick Fuentes on this channel, you will be immediately banned. And they're welcome to do what gammas do and declare victory and do whatever they want. I don't care, as long as it's not here and as long as it's not on my blog. People talk about me on a regular basis on a number of, from a number of different perspectives, and that's fine. They can do whatever they want. They can talk about whatever they want. They can say whatever they want, but not here and not on the blog. And there we have an example already. I'm going to put him in a timeout, given the possibility that he might not know it's very, very simple. All you have to do is control yourself. All you have to do is be disciplined. I expect the evil legion of evil to be disciplined. I expect the dread ilk to be disciplined. And I expect the reprehensibles to be disciplined too. That's what makes us collectively effective. And the VFM, obviously, I don't even think about in those questions because, of course, their discipline is 100% flawless. So, anyhow, the important thing is we have to stay focused on what we do, not what anyone else does. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing that you guys don't know about. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing that very, very few people know about. And so we're trying to stay focused on those things. And that's what brings us to our topic of strategy, tactics, and logistics. I understand that the Kurgan recently did a video, and he was talking a little bit about the difference between strategy and tactics. And it's something that he sometimes likes to get into vis-a-vis me because he is a superlative tactician. And that's basically what he does. He gets things done. He's actually written a book. You may not know about it, but he's also a martial artist. He's a more serious martial artist than I am. He actually wrote a book called Systema, the Russian martial system, and he is an expert practitioner of it. And so that's one reason why he and I get along very well, is because we both come from fairly strong martial arts traditions. So we speak the same language, we have some shared experiences, and so forth. But we're good at different things. It's always interesting when we're talking about various projects and various things that we can do, because he is always looking to immediately figure out what the next step should be. How do we implement immediately? And whereas I don't do that. I don't actually get very concerned about how we're going to do something when we're discussing things. I'm more thinking about what we could do or what we should be doing in the longer term and what the longer term implications of those things are going to be. Welcome, Hermit Bear. And so the primary, the primary difference between strategy and tactics is that strategy is deciding what to do, what the objective is, and then tactics is more about how to go about achieving that. And that's why the greatest writer on strategy of all time, Sun Tzu, wrote about how the most effective generals win without ever even going into battle. Now, that's not relevant for tactics. How do you win without ever going into battle? You know, this helps you understand. I'm just trying to put this in very simple terms so that you can understand the fundamental difference between those two mindsets. And this leads me to a criticism that I noticed on the YouTube comments yesterday, or maybe it was today, doesn't really matter. But they were complaining about the fact that all of my videos are just about trying to sell people stuff, which obviously is not true, but you know, there's an element of truth to it, because we do talk about the various projects, and this is one of the vehicles that I use to let people know about them and to encourage them to participate in them, so forth. But there's a saying that says, I think it was amateurs. What is it? Amateurs study tactics. Experts study strategy, and professionals study logistics. And what we're talking about, what we're dealing with here, the reason that Owen is pitching unauthorized, or the tour, the reason that I'm pitching things like Castalia Deluxe and the Rebels Run project and various like the Junior Classics, is because those are our logistics. And all the battles that surround the deplatformings are about logistics. That's what the political ideological enemy is attempting to deny us collectively. You know, they're not just attempting to. The main purpose of the deplatformings is to affect our ability to do anything at all. And that's why the deplatformings are increasing. And that's why I spent the time and effort to figure out what the best way to neutralize that logistical attack would be. And of course, we developed it and we proved it. And the whole deplatforming thing coming out of Silicon Valley is going to come to an end fairly rapidly, because it's completely untenable. It's not just legally untenable for them, it is financially untenable for them. And Shotgun Bear says, notice they only deplatform people who are effective. It's obvious once you see the pattern. Exactly. And so, that's why, they banned Milo the very first day he was there. One of the reasons that Milo is probably the most deplatformed individual is because he is so rhetorically effective. I don't know anyone who is as rhetorically lethal as Milo. He's extremely quick. He's extremely articulate. And I've seen him go into an extremely hostile environment live on camera and silence the entire room. Just with nothing more than a charming smile, a little wink, and a word or two. It's astonishing. And that's why his book was called Dangerous, because they do regard him as dangerous. Will some of the deplatformers be relieved that they won't have to do it anymore? Yes, Absolutely. Because a lot of them know that what they're doing is wrong. They know that what they're doing is illegal. I wrote about this in Corporate Cancer, which, by the way, if you've noticed, I probably talk about my own books less than just about any other author out there. With the exception of some famous hermit authors. I mean, think about it. I just released a book, what? I don't even know when it was, a week ago? How much have we talked about it? Because it's there. If you want that, if you need it as a resource, it's there. That's what it's there for. But it's not really that. It's not my focus. I don't want to just. I don't want to just sell books. The Quartering got deplatformed from Patreon today. Wow, they are just really not. They are just really not getting it. That's funny. Yeah. So anyhow, that will be interesting. Nightwave castrated you. No, he didn't. These gammas. Hermit Bear says, I signed up for a Castelli Deluxe subscription for my future family to read. I'm also interested in the library collection. I emailed you earlier today. You must not have gotten it. No, you don't need to use an alternate email. If you want to sign up for both Deluxe and the library, go ahead. No problem at all. I mean, you can... one person actually signed up for 2 Deluxe subscriptions on the same email, so there's no problem at all. The Quartering kept his day job just for this reason. Yeah, but it's not. It's not a. I don't know who the Quartering is, but by all means, go ahead and have him send me an email with his contact information. I'm certain that the Legal Legion can help him out. Is Ann Coulter too popular a figure to deplatform? It depends. It depends what you mean. No one is too popular to deplatform. But there are people who the risk reward is too great. I mean, the reason that I'm not getting deplatformed anymore is because they understand that there's not that much reward to banning me. I'm not that popular. Not that many people listen to me. But and there's a cost to it. They know there's a cost to it. So but places like Twitter, places like Facebook. Well, Facebook is it depends. Facebook is many things. Twitter is something that they'll be able to just continue to ban people as much as they want because of the structure. But companies like PayPal and Airbnb and Patreon and Kickstarter and so forth, they're not going to be able to continue this. And if you don't understand why, have a look at Corporate Cancer. You'll see why. So there. See, I pushed my book. But so this is the importance of logistics, because if you don't have the resources, then you can't do anything. And that's, of course, why they focus on denying resources to you. And so what we're doing is we are attempting to give people the tools so they can do what they want. Like, for example, Infogalactic is there to be used. Now, a lot of people are not using it the way that we had hoped. But, so be it. If people would rather whine and cry about Wikipedia than actively make use of an alternative, that's their call. All we can do is make it available. The same thing with Social Galactic. Social Galactic is going to be released very soon, and what we're planning to do is provide the bronze level memberships to everybody who subscribes to this channel. Possibly, we need to check it out, but possibly everybody who subscribes to unauthorized, and then people can upgrade from there if they want to, or not. Doesn't matter. Again, the whole point, we're not trying to build, a Twitter. We're not trying to build a Gab. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. Peter Jackson says, they will wipe out conservative voices, and when they want, in the end, they will annihilate their enemies, maybe physically. They have the power and the desire to do so. No, they don't, Peter. They don't. You have no idea how terrified of us they are. We outnumber them hundreds to one. They are absolutely terrified of things going violent because they know that they will be ended very, very quickly. It's the main thing that we have to fear is just social rejection. But this is why Owen focuses on talking about wizardry and breaking the spell so much, because they have taught people like Peter to be afraid. They have taught people, all those men going their own way, they've taught them to be so afraid that they're not even willing to get married and have children. They're afraid to fight. And that is excellent strategy. What are they doing? They are attempting to convince you to give up. They're trying to convince you of despair. And this is why all of the secular nationalists, the agnostic nationalists, the non-Christian nationalists, tend to have a disadvantage. And it's why Christian nationalism is both what they're attacking, what they're trying to gatekeep, and what they're afraid of. Because what's the one thing that Christians have that nobody else has? We have hope. We know that the world is ruled by evil. So the fact that we understand that, there's evil out there, this is not news. And so, don't fear those. I mean, forget those who can only kill the body. Don't fear those who can only kill your Twitter and your PayPal account. Fear God only. And so, Static says they're scared that the right has such a bulletproof, convincing argument that mere exposure to it will convince legions. That's why they're desperately trying to hide us from them. Precisely. Who do you mean by this? I mean the global financial elite. They cross national boundaries. They are disproportionately Jewish, but don't make the mistake of thinking that that's all it is. It's not. Ultimately, at the core, this is all about those who serve Satan desperately attempting to figure out how to hold on to power and how to make hay while the Luciferian sun is still shining. We don't know how much time they have. They don't know how much time they have. But, you know, all we know is that we win in the end. And all we know is that it's our job to fight the good fight and run the good race. That's our job. We don't have to win. We just have to fight. We just have to show up and play the game. You know, so I mean, it's amazing. The wizard spells are amazing. That's why it's so important that Owen is working on this book, How to Kill a Wizard, because the wizard spells are what convince you that the world is the way that it is not. You know, we all want to live a long, healthy life. You know, we all want to have things go well. We all want to have experience joy and love and happiness. But the you know, it's just, it's not always going to be that way, because, you know, pain is the price that you pay eventually for joy. And, you know, you have to accept that. So it's just, you know, the key thing, I think, is to focus primarily on learning and speaking the truth. You can come up with all kinds of excuses, all kinds of reasons not to, you know. Oh, I forgot to ban the whole Bitcoin phrase, but we'll do it. Yeah, and so the thing is that if you can't understand the situation that you're in, you can't really know what to do. And so all I would say is put your trust in people that you see speak the truth. You know, people who let their yes be yes and their no be no. I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm not telling you to believe Owen. You have to make that call yourself. But, you know, there's so many people who are trying to lie to you, to redefine the terms, to redefine the concepts. Anytime you see that behavior, you know you're dealing with the kind of people that Tolkien warned you about. You're dealing with worm tongues. Jesus hated these people. We should too. And so, Jill says, making excuses takes so much time, I don't have time for anything else. How do we target logistics by speaking the truth? Well, you're not targeting logistics, but I mean, those are two separate things. You know, speaking the truth is just a core philosophy that I think that you should adopt. But here's where the logistics come in. If you get your logistics right, then it is much harder for them to put pressure on you to speak falsehood. You know, that's what, you know, Owen calls it taking the ticket. I call it, you know, I tend to think of it more as you know, being offered bait. But there's not, people. It's always funny because whenever there's controversy around anybody, it doesn't matter if it's Mike Cernovich or Richard Spencer or anybody. You get these. Well, I think he's a Fed. I think he's an op of some kind, and the that's I think very very seldom true. I think it's much more often that you know people are just frequently offered choices. Hey, we can make things a little easier for you if you'll just you know watch what you say here. We'll allow you to be on the platform as long as you don't cross certain lines. And so it's very easy for people to want to protect what they have. They want to they want to hang on to their subscribers. They want to hang on to their patrons. They want to keep the super chats flowing, whatever. It's understandable. It's normal. But that also makes you vulnerable. And so, um, man, what is with these lunatic Bitcoin people? Um, so anyhow, that's what's going on. So I got a question for those of you who are um, Castalia Deluxe subscribers. Would you like to see the first title page? We've actually arranged and designed a custom title page for Castalia Deluxe. We're going to also design a custom one for Castalia Library. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. Okay, we've got some yeses. So I will fire it up. Hang on, I'm going to turn myself off, my camera off, and we'll turn this on. So as you can see, this is a custom, I think it's actually hand engraved pattern. The mask is from Papua New Guinea, and the maximum because we're getting close to the end of the initial order phase. I think it's safe to predict that the maximum number that we're going to produce is 500. So, so there's going to be this will be for Castalia Deluxe, and also I can't absolutely guarantee it, but I believe the library is actually going to be a signed edition. We're working on making sure that we can do that. So, we're, like I said before, we're aiming for first-rate quality across the board, and I think the cover design is going to be equally awesome. We're actually up to 280, I think, and so we will have a few extras that we will sell, partly through Arcade and Comics and probably through Abe Books as well. So it's going to be the sides and bottom. Yeah. They have to be plain. We don't want it to. We don't want it. It's a title page. The key thing is to, let people know what the limited edition is and so forth. So now I missed a bunch of super chats the other night. Sorry about that. So I'm going to address them now. And let's see here. So, where were we? The Last Witch King, A Magic Broken Deluxe. Summa Helvetica and other stories will be on that. Will be deluxe, no question. PSA, okay, we did that. I'm just making sure that we didn't. Okay, see, I missed some of these. And obviously no penalty here on any subjects addressed because this was before I said anything. Okay. Here we go. When Nikki's destroyed, would it be considered a fatality or a babality? It's a picture, icon of a milk bottle. No, I've no intention whatsoever of like I think I've made it very clear. I've no interest in destroying Nick. I have no interest in talking or thinking about him at all. Community Bear says stay 25 feet away out of booger flicking range. I think that's a reference to nose picking. Christopher McCullough says, who wants to bet none of these spammers were brave enough to call out Charlie Kirk? Well, the problem, of course, is that conservative ink people, do their best to try to avoid criticism, and obviously they run away from debate for the same reason that Nick did. They're all trying to do the same thing. They're all shooting for the same. I've proven repeatedly that I'm not afraid to take on. He's not. He's just getting to the point where the SJWs will be paying attention to him. That's what usually drives these things, just so you understand, is it's external SJWs putting pressure on internal SJWs who then go up the chain trying to make it happen with the executives. The executives usually don't want to do anything. They don't want to deplatform people, but they're not good at resisting the internal SJW pressure either. Christian McCullough said, Nick's fangirls make Matoker's streams look like high culture. I mean, gammas look the same no matter, it doesn't matter if they're, Comicsgate or following a YouTuber or whatever. They all behave the same way. I mean, there's a reason why we talk about patterns of behavior. They're identifiable patterns of behavior. So, of course, they behave in reliable ways that are consistent with that pattern. Mark W. sends £1. Thank you. Secret King says, I know something very important, but I'm not telling. That's good. Sam Prochansky, we covered that one the other day. Covered these. Let's see here. Mr. Peabody says gammas can't understand what it means to build. No, and that's why they jump in and criticize so much, because they have no ability to even conceive of what you're doing and how it works and how it's done. They love to criticize, they love to talk about things, they love to discuss things to death, but they don't like to actually do anything. Sergeant Bear says, Vox, before I became a Christian, some Christians used to tell me it was evil I owned pet snakes. I used to laugh it off, but I accepted Jesus as Lord in the last year. Good for you. And Wilkstream happened. VFM Bear says, Nick has a great future in politics. Please clap. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think anybody's that bad. I mean, Jeb Bush is literally the worst political candidate I have ever seen. It's amazing how bad he is. Jack Cool says, so when is Fuentesetics coming out? It's not. I've got many other books I would prefer to read. Berserker sends $2, and Carl Robert Nordquist sends 20 kroner. Thank you, both. Thomas W. says, any particular martial art you'd recommend to learn? Yeah, I think, I mean, any upright striking art. It's not as effective one-on-one as the grappling arts, but you don't want to use the grappling arts in any situation where there's more than one other person around. So, um, you know, there's plenty of, I mean, anything from boxing to, Kali. I mean, Kali is my personal favorite. What's a good source for learning about the Satanism of the elites? Well, start with the Bible, then open your eyes. There's lots of books. I think Bill Cooper's On a Pale Horse. Um, from a more secular perspective, Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. There's, just, do a Google search. You'll come up with all kinds of conspiracy sites and books and so forth. Boot Heel Bear sends $5. Thank you. Otis Axbear says, off topic, how is your fantasy football team doing? You a dynasty IDP guy or more redraft? I'm in a redraft league. I've been in the same league for, I think, over 20 years now. And I'm usually a middle of the pack player. This year, I've got probably the most dangerous offense in terms of scoring points. All my wins have been blowouts, but I think I'm 7-5. So I keep going into Monday night, with like a 99% chance of victory, and then the other team's defense or wide receiver, just blows up immensely, and I lose by 4 points. So it's been a little bit frustrating. I mean, I should be either 9-2 or 8-3, but it is what it is. I'll be in the playoffs. That's the main thing. Favorite Scotch distillery? Mine is. I don't drink Scotch, so I don't have a favorite distillery. Aaron asks, do you know of any modern books that teach a long-term cultural protection guide or code to avoid, for instance, our current predicament? No, because what we're in is a new situation. It's the state of technology, both in terms of communications and travel and so forth, that has created this situation. It's unprecedented. And so there's nothing like that yet. Could be a useful tool in navigating multi-culti world. Sure, but it doesn't exist. Aaron has another question. All the world's a stage. Do you believe Putin is sincere and legit as he purports himself to be? I mean, he's not honest about. I mean, he doesn't purport to be this honest guy. He's a former KGB leader. I do believe that he is a Russian nationalist. I do believe he has the interests of the Russian people, that he puts the interests of the Russian people ahead of global interests. That's why he's considered the great Satan, and that's why so many nationalists, look to him and put faith in him. And so far, they've been right to do so. He defeated the plan for the Middle East. For that, we should all be grateful. He's not just the posed contrarian to the typical feckless Western leader, in my opinion. The Chinese leader, was said by the great, probably the greatest politician of the 20th century, Lee Kuan Yew, said that she is the best and most able leader on the planet. And so, China is formidable, not just because of its numbers and because of its rapid development over the past 30 years, but because it probably has one of the most effective and least corrupt leaders in the world. Kevin Crater said, what book did you read around the same time as the Lord of the Rings trilogy and preferred it to said trilogy? The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. Have you read the loosely connected, somewhat newly released trilogy in between The Silmarillion and The Hobbit? No. I assume you're talking about some sort of like unreleased tales and stuff. I haven't read any of those at all. Um, I do have family members that are very into those though. Uh, Bialar467 says, Vox, I didn't know what to expect when I first came across your blog, but I never expected anyone would put me back on a path to Christ. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, of course, but again, the Holy Spirit works how it works. We are all just, if we're fortunate, we are tools in God's hands. And that's something that I think is a good thing to pray for, is to ask God to use us how he wants. Unlike the enemy, unlike the devil, God doesn't break his tools for fun. Even when they, because he doesn't need them. And so, he uses us because he wants us to be willing. But he's not just using us, so that he can, while it's useful, and then will cast us aside. Hans Laga says, screw men going their own way, dating women rocks. Marrying them and having them have your children is even better. So keep that in mind. My shield is discussed. How would a Castelia Ultimate Super Limited Edition bound in SJW skin? Or is it just too thin to work with? And we are caught up. So that's good. Let's see here. Anyhow, I think that covers everything that I plan to address. Matthew Mayo said, for a while I didn't think Christians could be intellectuals and vice versa. Vox is crushing stereotypes. That's a pretty ridiculous stereotype. I would encourage anyone to read Tertullian or Aquinas and try to imagine, or Newton, and try to imagine that Christians can't be intellectuals. Is it wrong to put too many decisions into God's hands by flipping a coin? It takes high faith, but I've been getting great results. God is great. That strikes me as a bit of magical thinking. So, but by their fruits you shall judge them. So it's not something that I'd recommend, but I can't say that it's wrong either. So, oh dear. Somebody obviously isn't paying attention. Goats that don't perform become Castalia books. Exactly. I actually, I accidentally, sorry about that. I'll leave them to the moderators. Go ahead and nuke them again. Macro says, I like the idea of offering an occasional library edition to the deluxe subscribers. Yeah, we're going to do that at some point in time. And so, Thomas, this is your one warning. We don't talk about, you're not to talk about him. That's how we're going to end this. Let me give you the link. Let me give you the link to the deluxe thing, just in case there's anybody who hasn't had the chance to come across it yet. I always assume that everybody, once I've talked about something, I always assume very erroneously that of course everybody knows about it now. And then I invariably find out, people ask me questions. The reason that it's important to subscribe sooner rather than later here is because once we place the order, that's it. This isn't going to be like our regular books where you can just buy them whenever. It's going to it's going to be, uh, you know, this limited edition of 500, and then that's it. Um, so have a look. If you're interested, go for it. And if not, that's cool. This isn't for everybody. And we'll look forward to speaking to you soon. But remember, logistics are the key. That's why they are focused on our logistics. This isn't about shilling. This isn't about anybody wanting to, you know, go take a cruise to Tahiti or something. It's about fighting and winning the cultural war. So, have a good evening. Look forward to seeing you the next time. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.